I'll leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like LeBron James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Refuse not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a
bit.
now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome. Sorry, my bad. So I will get a proper intro here. I was waiting, couldn't understand why the lag there. It was because I was watching the abstract feed instead of the StreamYard stream, and there's a little bit of lag there. So my apologies for probably already gave the gift of another funny faced meme during the show today. I'm running, I guess, pure on that front. I think every day this week I've had some absurd, ridiculous looking face that someone has captured either on the show or on a clip. I'll pull up Randy's here in a second. But before I do that, I gotta share the steak and eggs arepas in the chat. Was delicious breakfast, and since I'm gonna make fun of myself with the ridiculous faces, I will at least drop some good food in the chat. Here is the face of the day. I'm sure I probably already staring. I have no idea what face I was making as I was waiting for the intro to stop playing, which had already stopped playing. So I will watch the playback just for that. But here is the latest cat meme of the day, courtesy of Randy. Apparently X froze on that fine look there. I don't know how I do it. It's a unique skill set I did not know I possessed. But yeah. So unrelated, but cold open material. We're gonna join the rest of crypto Twitter. We've moved beyond creatine, and we're now talking about peptides. Joey's favorite, BPC 157, short for body protection compound. Use it anytime I have an injury or acute pain. Speeds healing, reduces inflammation, protects tissues, and helps muscles, tendons, ligaments, and even gut health recover faster. My question, I don't like needles. Do you have to shoot it in, like if my elbow is messed up, do I have to like shoot it near my elbow or could shoot it in my butt? It doesn't matter. Does it matter where you inject the peptide? I know this is probably a really ignorant question, but I do my best to avoid needles. So I've never been on the juice or anything related. So I am curious. GM to Mesh, Teacher Katie over there in the abstract chat as always. We've got our YouTube crew is rolling deep. If you've not joined us on YouTube, that is outside of this X space. The YouTube is where it's at. By the way, do appreciate the love on the space. The audio space is pinned up top all the way to the right. Those likes, reposts, and bookmarks go a long way. Warms up the algo and does us a real solid. You'll also find up there that link to that abstract chat as well as YouTube. Where over in the YouTube chat, you will find this, Shoot It in My Butt. Not on the bingo card, but it is a Friday. You'll also find Machiavelli, Thomas, Web3 Warhead, Teacher Katie, Web3 Warhead double dipping, the GMs over there, Grand Rising and Happy Friday, as well as Green Edge. Dan, appreciate you all getting things moving over there. And yeah, this is our big push this year. We've got some really big goals as it relates to our YouTube distribution, our YouTube account. So I'm going to do the double pin. It's up there twice. That's how important it is. If you haven't given us the subscribe, we would. What's the proper? I need to watch some more Zoomers on YouTube so I can better rattle off the like, subscribe, and all the stuff the kids want you to do. Chat. That said, Joey's answer is systemic and local via injection. Local is more effective for acute pain. You can also take it in pill form, but slightly less effective. I'd probably go the pill form route if that's I deal with a little less efficiency to avoid the needle. Joey says he does systemic in his belly. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. Like I just does not sound fun to shoot myself with a needle, whether my belly or my butt. Elbow sounds even less fun. But that said, as always, I'm Cap, no co-host today. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins are exceptionally risky, as are prediction markets. Even the ones that say there's a 75% chance of the Supreme Court ruling Trump's tariffs illegal today. That is just part of the macro news. We'll get into all that big macro news day. A lot happening today that is far outside of our control, but it goes without saying the markets are likely to respond and react. Who knows which way they go, but volatility is probably somewhat of a certainty today. If I were to guess, we may net out. The end of the day might be exactly where things are right now, but I don't think we get to the end of the day without some pretty volatile movement, probably north and south or up and down. If I were to guess, we will see. We'll get into all of the big macro updates. I have to double check too and see when the first announcement is. I'll do that here in a second. But again, if you haven't given us the like, the repost, the bookmark on the space, greatly appreciate it. While you're up there, head over to YouTube, give us that subscription. Doesn't sound right. I know I got to say that differently, but I'll get better. If anyone has a better quick way to rattle that off the tongue, that would be great. I appreciate all help and assistance. And yeah, big news day today on a Friday. I expect the news to continue. I'm just guessing. I don't know anything, but we had very large, very much big news on the macro level last weekend, Friday and Saturday, and would not be surprised if it's another volatile weekend as well, following news after markets close today. I don't know what it might be, but with so much already expected to break, whether it's reports or rulings or whatever the case may be, just from Venezuela to Iran to the stuff going on in the congressional hearings over Minnesota. There's a lot going on, and it's just very active. I don't even know how to put it. It's just there's while we're certainly not geopolitical or even macro experts here, in as much as we'd love to think crypto and our magical internet coins have it's all financial markets now, and maybe the thesis held, was accurate at one point, was a hedge against inflation and counter trade. That it is. Thomas says, yeah, you can hit the like and sub buttons on YouTube. Still not sure that's the. Yeah, I need to consume more. Actually, we need our unpaid intern Zane to just tell us what I need to say to get those YouTube subs up. But they are appreciated very much. That's what I do know. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of those, as does Payne, and excited to. Not going to get into too much. We got a lot to cover today, but really am excited about where we're headed, what we're building with all of you, and exciting time to be here. Keep Fishing says, I've been similarly curious about peptides and also weirded out by needles, despite despite stats insisting it's no big deal. I'm more worried about gray market quality than the needle itself. I think Joey has a Cali Connect. Oh, he's going to come up and educate us here a little bit. So, few minutes of peptide talk, just so we can fit in with all the cool kids on X that's moved on from talking about creatine. We'll briefly hit on the peptide talk, since Keep Fishing asked the question and queued it up for Joey. And then we will jump into this big macro news day, including but not limited to all those macro updates. We also have Grayscale filing for a big ETF with some tokens that you may not have expected. Pump Fun claiming hitting an all-time high. That does not pass the smell test to me in terms of activity and volume. I don't know. Maybe speculating there might be some wash trading as they are preparing for maybe actually the airdrop that's never come. Following up on the Rex potential buyer speculation, as well as there's a Mint ecosystem Mint not affiliated with Artifact, excuse me, not affiliated with Artifact, but someone in the ecosystem doing a Mint. Speaking of Mints, there's also a decision on Ethos, whether you want to burn half your XP for an NFT or stake half your XP. ICO's Trove off to a good start, already went over their target raise, and that's open for another day or two. But yeah, before we get into all the big news, and we also will absolutely follow up with Zcash mass exodus and free fall. That turns out Mert was right. I still question the initial post from the CEO. I'm not going to rant on how helpful professional comms and PR teams would be once again, but I'm going to say it once again. It would be helpful if I think many of these teams would benefit, might not have lost the $1 billion worth of market cap, billion plus in market cap, had they maybe worded that initial post a little better. Yes, Joey, Payne is not going to let us continue the peptide talk to 8:30. You've got 3 minutes, sir. What say you regarding Keep Fishing's concern over gray market quality?
I actually came up because of the YouTube subscriber thing. But what was his question about the peptides?
Well, not quite. He says he's been similarly curious about peptides, but he's similar to me, also weirded out by needles, despite stats insisting it's no big deal. He says he's more worried about gray market quality than the needle itself. What for those that are?
Oh yeah. So peptides are kind of like, a couple of years ago, or maybe more than that, like TRT became like, everybody was like, oh, you got to get on TRT, you got to get in TRT. And that's kind of how like peptides have become. Like literally everybody's switching from all that other stuff to peptides. I mean, most people that are bodybuilders are adding peptides into their roid stacks just because of what peptides do. But in my opinion, you're going to see if you Google peptide at all of a sudden you'll start seeing tons of ads on Instagram and Facebook. And the issue is that none of it is FDA approved. It's all only approved for quote unquote animal testing. But if you do some research, a lot of stuff that in America that's made for animals is actually much higher quality than what's made for humans, because apparently we have much stricter requirements on what we can give our horses than what we can give humans. For me personally, where I get my peptides from, I made sure that there were individuals already getting peptides from that provider. So I did not just blindly choose a provider. I had a couple friends that they were doing it and saw their success from what they were taking. And to me, that was the signal to say, okay, well, clearly they're healthy, their blood work's good, it's working, so that's where I get them from. There is really the really only documentation you can get on a peptide is when they do like a electro something whatever graph. I can't remember exactly what it's called, where it just tells you like the potency of it. But I mean, that would be my suggestion: is if you're going to get them, try to get them through the same provider that somebody is already taking, that is healthy and it's working. There are some nurse practitioners and like wellness clinics now that are starting to carry them. Like wellness clinics is in the type of places where you go to get like IV drips and whatever. But again, right, they're just getting them from some type of manufacturer that's claiming they are what they are. So that would be my advice. If you're interested, keep fishing. Send me a DM. I can give you some information. I can hook you up with where I get them from. But the YouTube talk, I think from my experience working with people that are really big on YouTube, and Zane maybe can chime in too. The key to YouTube is like creating a funnel, and the way to create the best funnel on YouTube is incorporating YouTube Shorts. So I think if Payne or whoever it is that does, can do some clips and create some YouTube Shorts that then funnel back to, hey, check out this week's, let's say it's a clip on, I don't know, something like the rec drink, and it's like a 45-second soundbite on rec, and it's like, check out the full conversation on our YouTube. And then people would then go to the YouTube, listen to the full conversation, subscribe, etc. So you have to create like a funnel to get people to go to the actual full-length YouTube video, and that's typically best done with YouTube Shorts.
Yep, totally makes sense. Working on that as well. We're going to have at least a clip a day going out, but if you guys, and I know, shout out to Boo and Blue, if you're out there, we greatly appreciate your interest in helping with clips. We will get back to you. Just wanted to make sure we get everything buttoned up before we just say go, and we're very close to that point. So appreciate you all. That said, we've got situations to monitor today. Big day in the macro world, as well as some other follow-up items on discussions from this week. And before we get too far ahead and too serious into things that I'm not the expert on, I would like to we'll call attention to a couple things. One, kind of market update-ish, I guess. I at least will hit on it. I'm not going to do a full market update here. I will just some highlights on the NFT side. Punk's down a couple percent, Apes down 1%, Pudgy's down 1%, Moonbird's up 8% on the day. There was another claim for the, I think it's the new, I'm not even exactly sure. Another soulbound token claim there for something Moonbird related. If anyone has those details, drop that in the chat. I would share it. CloneX did bounce a little bit back up 5% to 0.29 after the pullback following the big pump. Little Pudgy's 0.4%. Mutants down 2%. Good Vibes Club's up 1%. And the one I wanted to hit on here this morning, Meebits did pull back almost 10% after that big run up yesterday. Still, the volume, I'm struggling to understand what the heck happened there, why it moved as much as it did in a day, but probably not that important. Could just be a one-off. The one I wanted to talk about, though, before we get into the big macro stuff and everything else going on in the world, is this here. Captains trading at 0.22, and we got an art preview. My question for everyone, does anyone care? Also, since the art's not revealed, is this, I guess this one must have been this was a Kong. There's only 100 of them, I believe. Yeah. One just sold for an ETH and they relisted it for 3. So there is some momentum. Most of these sales in the last day are just, most of these sales are just floors. Here's another one that was a Kraken, sold for 0.35, got released for 0.45. So there's some flippers out there. Here is an art preview, though. I'll post, this is from This is from Gorilla. I'll post this up top in a second, but you can see some of the different art. I'm not saying it's not. It's fine art. I'm not saying it's bad art. I just wonder, does it matter? I genuinely mean that. Does it matter? Does anyone care? I'm assuming there's people in the community that care. They've been waiting for this art. My bigger question is anyone not in the community care that's not just looking for a quick flip? And I don't understand why originally they were going to go customizable traits, if I'm not mistaken, and they had the art and then they scrapped it and they went back to just the generic babies. And this is what's coming next. I'm not deep in the ecosystem. I'm not well versed, although Ray, if you're listening, or anyone else on that captain's team, at one point I'd offered Captain Z.eth or Captains.eth if you are on the Meme Lamb team. I'd offer that to Ray straight up for a captain when captains were like 4 or 5 ETH. He should have took me up on the deal, because right now I would not trade Captain Z.eth or Captains.eth for one of these NFTs. And I might do it for a Kong. I'd do it for the Kong. So yeah, Ray, if you're listening, I would trade you my ENS domain that I've had since 21 for one of those rare ones. But genuine question, let us know. Joey, we'll go to you next in the chat. Does the art resonate with you? Does it hit? Does it matter? Is it enough to drive momentum? Is it enough to drive attention back to the collection? I will pull up a post from Ray here in a second. He did it's been a while since I've searched him. I'm not finding, we follow each other, but I can't remember what is Ray's X account. If anyone knows that, let me know. Joey, go ahead. What's your thoughts on this art? No, 9gag is 9gag.
I do remember which I thought was cool at the time, I guess was kind of cool and novel, was the whole customizable traits thing. And then didn't they go through like a pivot point where they were going to go more, like the idea of switching to these characters was so that way it was going to be more like anime, and they went away from the customizable traits to these different characters because there was supposed to be some storytelling, and that's why they were going to have these different characters. And I feel like we just don't know enough as to how all of this is going to tie together to what they're doing, like in their Web 2, because I believe, as in the last 6 months, didn't they announce some type of acquisition as well? Like, they did.
I'm pretty
sure,
if I remember,
acquired something, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they acquired a publicly traded shell company as a way to effectively do like a reverse IPO. I'm not even sure what country that was in, but if I'm not mistaken, I think they acquired a publicly traded shell company so they could do a reverse IPO. And I think it was initially intended to be a treasury, like a meme coin treasury company, not just for meme, but for other memes. And I don't know if that has.
Yeah, I guess the real question, everybody got super bullish on meme land and captains and potatoes and all this stuff they were doing because of the success that they had in Web 2 and like Web 2 building and all that stuff. But I guess for me, I still don't understand how it's all supposed to tie together and benefit back to anybody that's holding a captains or a potato. And then wasn't there also like a recent change where the potato has now become like the official mascot of Meme Land now, and it's not captains or something? Or am I wrong?
I don't know if it's the official mascot. I do think they changed their one of their profile pictures to a potato, but I don't know if there was any like official statement on that or not. Yeah, I'm just looking at 9gag. Meme Land is, yeah, if you look at they put the potato behind the Meme Land in the Meme Land account. The Potatoes IP is going global at 9gag. Yeah, so I guess you're right. At 9gag's mascot, Potatoes now unifies 9gag, Meme Land, and the meme coin under one IP for hundreds of millions of fans worldwide. Here's why this is just the beginning. So you're correct. Yeah, introducing Potatoes, 9gag's official mascot. 200 million plus fans worldwide will now experience 9gag through the mascot across every product and experience. Potato badges coming soon on 9gag. So if you're not familiar with 9gag, you're right. 9gag is massive. It is they were early to the meme game, and it's weird. cookie reminder. It's first I've seen that one. Probably just got fished somewhere. Thank God it was a pure NMN ad, not something else. Once you hit my age, you get really even. It doesn't matter what you search on the internet. They target guys in their mid 40s, and like I really don't embarrass myself ever, regardless of what silly faces I make on here. But man, some of the ads I get served up are embarrassing and not relevant. Like it doesn't matter how many times I'm not interested in this. Like hide this ad. This is inappropriate. This is not for me. I think every time I do that, it makes them. I think I'm just getting trolled. So I'm probably going to go away from 9gag here pretty quickly because the ads are rotating. And I'm not even joking. I don't know what might show up next. And I'd like to, as we're talking about our YouTube account, I'd like to continue to grow that thing and not get served up not safe for work ads. Anyways, point being, 9gag, huge base, huge following. And what got me so excited about Meme Land and what Ray was doing initially is Ray came into the space, spent thousands of ETH on NFTs, not just buying NFTs, but getting really deep in the ecosystems, really deep in the communities. When they launched their NFTs, first it was the MVPs, and then it was potatoes or captains.
Yeah, it was the MVPs. They had like a floor price of like 25 or
higher, I think.
30 ETH or it was something crazy. And then the potatoes came, and then your potatoes would grow or something.
Yeah,
right.
Well, the potatoes came before captains, I believe. Anyways, potatoes were like the secondary collection that came first. That was kind of novel at the time. And then all that was leading to the captains. They had a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement. Then they launched Meme. They had Stakeland. You talk about CreatorFi and how could they incorporate everything they're doing on chain with their Web2 distribution, these 200 million fans. Then your point on the public company, it was Meme Strategy, I believe. This is what I'm showing here. The last post was June. Well, hold on, that's a pin post. No, so this is like part of the. Okay, so they acquired Meme Strategy, which I believe was a publicly traded company, called something else. They rebranded it to Meme Strategy, and it acquired 2,400 Solana for about 372,000 at 152 per SOL. The company made history as the first publicly listed company in Asia, specifically on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange to invest directly into the Solana ecosystem. But then that was last June, and they just kind of went dark. Like.
The comms have been really bad surrounding everything, captains, Meme Land, all that stuff.
And part of the surprising thing to me is, I've got to go Brave browser. You're probably right. I probably should go Brave browser and stop getting served up these ads, or just stop checking Facebook once a week, because that's like Facebook is the attack vector on me. So I just need to stop even checking, see if I have DMs. If people are that important, they know they can track me down other channels. Also surprising to me, like the whole, like, he went from being, it wasn't just Ray, there was Ray and Shar and then they hired Sam, who at the time it was like right after Proof got acquired, or right before Proof got acquired by Yuga. And at the time, not only was Sam putting out a lot of data, like NFT data and whatnot, he also had a show. He was hosting a Proof podcast. I thought we would see an increase of communications coming out of captains and Meme Land and that system, and it's just they've really kind of went. I'm not saying AWOL. I need to come up with a better, but it reminds me of like the doodles going silent on the timeline for months. And so I will see. I hope they do well. I think any of these crypto native brands, if they win, it's a win for all of us here, and especially one like Meme Land and 9gag that have such a large reach outside of crypto and Web3. Speaking of large reach outside of crypto and Web3, we talked about it yesterday on the show. Speaking of those clips, I did share one this morning on my take, I guess, not necessarily a bold take, but my take that I think this collaboration with WorldStar, the Rec Drinks collaboration with WorldStar, I think could be the biggest yet. And partially because they've partnered with a Web2 brand that's got millions of followers. It's a Web2 content company that I think there's going to be a lot of these looking to grow their products, their services, the revenue streams that they are on things they can sell into their distribution. And we'll see. I don't know. Again, it's just speculation, but my take was, I think that is more likely than X Games that it be a profit sharing model or a revenue sharing model, as opposed to Rect just paying a fee to work with X Games or become the drink of X Games. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but somewhat related there. And we talk about the benefit of these working with these large brands that have a large Web 2 following, large Web 2 audience or follower base. Even easier when it's a sister company or they own they actually own the distribution. Get BAT token, ad blocker, and build in VPN. That's with Brave browser, I'm guessing. I do have. I use VPN. I'm sure there's Chrome ad blockers. I don't know. I haven't went that route. But anyways, I digress. We do have a lot to get into here today. Moving on from Meanlands and Captains. I'm curious if anyone's looking to make some moves there, or that excites anyone. If you are, I guess kind of where I net out is what else in Ray's defense. He did say it's not just art. Let me pull it back up so I can quote him exactly here. He says more than just art, and kind of acknowledges that we've been captains who stayed, thank you. Captains who left, I get it. Captains who will come back, welcome. Than just art. No, it's not another 2-year wait. Okay. I'm probably going to gauge from the sidelines, watch from the sidelines. I will root them on. I hope the art hits. I hope those that have been patient love their reveals. And it'd be fun to get some, like we've been talking, like the speculation is fun. We enjoyed the artifact stuff, the getting a revealing a rare. It's fun. Keeping in tune before we get into the big macro news. Just on the since I mentioned artifact there, I got 2 quick flyover news topics. If anyone has any additional thoughts or commentary on the artifact acquisition or this other ecosystem mint, feel free to come up or jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts. But the first bold take, I'm not saying this is the case, but Dale the Nye, I don't know how you say his name. This guy or woman says Nike quietly sold Artifact in December. No buyer named, no announcement. This thread explains why I think it's Louis Vuitton is the most likely landing spot. Artifact was never a performance brand. It was built around character IP, collectibles, limited drops, digital culture that behaves more like art than apparel. Quote tweeting a Clone X 2D avatars also in development. Will be our final edition. Character-led IP historically performs better inside art and luxury houses than performance brands. The precedent people forget is Takashi Murakami relationship with Louis Vuitton fundamentally changed luxury culture. I'll open this. We'll go over that in a second. Murakami was not a one-off collab. Louis Vuitton integrated Murakami's character art into its brand identity for years. Here's a couple of ads. And then Artifact's Clone X project, which launched in 21 in direct collaboration with Takashi, mirrors the early 2000s Louis Vuitton and Murakami playbook. This is the time I wish I could speak like the French and pronounce Louis Vuitton correctly. Character first, visuals playful, iconic motifs, i.e. Murakami's smiling flowers, DOB characters on LV bags, Murakami drip traits on Clone X avatars, scarcity through limited drops, timed collection releases, waiting lists, resale hype for LV, forging seasons, and timed redemptions for Artifact. Exhibition quality, physical garments. This is real. They did do some really cool pop-ups, some concept stuff, some exhibitions, talking gallery sculptures, physical apparel, sneakers, high-end installations. Luxury houses rarely announce cultural acquisitions with hype. They buy quietly, stabilize the IP, archive the work, and then let it breathe before redeploying it years later. Silence is not uncertainty. It's often strategy. It sounds like this was definitely written with the help of LLM, but that's okay. This is not confirmation post. It's pattern recognition. Definitely written by AI. If filings appear, the story writes itself. Until then, the incentives point clearly in one direction. I don't know if it's clearly in one direction. I've seen a couple others with the same thesis. I don't know. I think it's probably more likely that the OG founders took it back on as opposed to Nike selling it to LVMH, but I don't know for certainty. The last thing I wanted to say here on the Artifact ecosystem is this here. I will pin this up top in a second. Do your own research. All I did was see the post. I've not dove in deep. Are you guys hearing the landscapers? Poppy, Joey, do you hear the mower? Is it just me?
It's very, very, very faint.
Okay.
Not a distraction.
I'll try. Appreciate it. I will work my, I'll throttle down the mic when they get close. Anyway, anyone, welcome to the food chain. Hype is back on the menu, 420 quality. Anyone can qualify for Hype Meal version 0.02, but those with an IOU, see next week, get a 24-hour head start. If you don't have one, please do the following. You can retweet, you can tag to clones or friends and post your address. The IOU holders, if you received a Mick Artifact drop from him in the past, check hidden on OpenSea to redeem. Your instructions are below. Retweet, burn your IOU by sending it to the burn it. I'm burning it. .eth within 24 hours of this post. Late won't qualify. This came out. Wait a second. Disregard this entire thing. Disregard the entire thing. I don't know how I made this. Like I make mistakes often. Rare that I talk about breaking news for something that took place in September of 2022. So my apologies, wasting everyone's time there. I truly thought this was just came out. Someone was reposting it. Maybe they're going back and doing something differently. But I truly saw this yesterday and thought it was current. Definitely not current. Definitely took place in 2022. So my apologies, wasted everyone's time there. Let's go, Ilan, and then we'll go back to Poppy. Ilan, 3 days in a row. Love that we connected this week. Welcome back to the stage. Were you coming up to correct me on this horrible food chain take, or do you think Louis Vuitton might be the buyer of Clone X?
What's up, Cap? Yeah, no, I'm loving this, coming in the morning and hanging out with you and having my coffee and whatnot. I think, I did want to just double tap on that. I think that's a very interesting take. I think obviously whenever we talk about Artifact and Nike, there was a lot of patents, right? Like there was a lot of intellectual property aside from the IP that correlated with the avatars and all that stuff. That was tied up in that ecosystem. So that's still sort of in the wind as far as what kind of patents are going to be moving with this acquisition. I think it's going to be an important aspect of like who buys it, whether they bought those particular patents in that IP, if they're going to integrate that and the shoes right into the future of Artifact, because Artifact was sort of this bifurcation between what we all know is the PFPs, the clones, the 3D avatars, the metaverse sort of play, as it were, and then the sort of the merch side of things, which was also supposed to be this kind of luxury merch made by Nike, and it's all co-branded with Artifact and Nike, and made assumedly in Nike's premium sort of garment making facilities, but also like the shoes, right? Like Nike was the shoes, and they had the RFID technology that linked the NFTs. I think that's an important aspect of the authentication measure that somebody like a Louis Vuitton would want. That is to say, like you do have a digital twin that authenticates your, the authenticity of the garment or the bag or whatever, the shoe. And that was always like very interesting aspect of Artifact, right? But because the issue for Nike was the knockoffs in StockX, and that was a whole big deal. Like there was a whole industry around this, particularly in China, and they were making shoes, like super popular shoes, even better than Nike could make them, and they would pass them off, and the fakes just went right through all the secondary markets whenever the sneaker flippers were out and about. And this sort of RFID authentication, digital twin, NFT was something that hurt people's ears. I mean, I think Louis Vuitton has done this. in the past. They have created a NFT that allowed special access. I don't know if they're doing RFID, for authentication right now with their bags and stuff. But I think that's going to be a huge, huge, huge market. I mean, you hear them talking in TradFi about that particular, market. I think Impinj is the name of the corporation that makes those RFID chips. Now they're economically produced. I think they're a couple cents per, so they're going to be integrated into basically everything. So that was an interesting one. I think Louis Vuitton would be a cool sort of that would be a cool acquisition for them. But the question, obviously, in the wind is whether they picked up those patents and whether they're going to integrate that as a new vertical with the shoes and stuff. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. And Food Chain is a legend. Food Chain got sued by Nike, and he trolled Artifact and Nike for a while because of that lawsuit.
That's amazing.
So that's a side story, but yeah, that was a fun one.
that's twice this week you've brought me up to speed on some OG lore that I was not aware of. So again, no idea as how that popped in my feed as current breaking news, but definitely not breaking news. You're not going to mint that one. A lot of history and lore with that one. So yeah, appreciate the insight. And you're right about the patents. I do think this was my speculation. It's why Nike bought Artifact was to, especially how things played out after they shut it down or wound it down. I'm like, well, that checks out. They bought Artifact to basically take out a competitor, lock up. I've not validated this, but per my assistant ChatGPT 5.2 tells me that there was 14 total patents attributed to Artifact, including design, utility filings, digital interfaces, graphical elements. Not only 14 in total from filed by Artifact, Nike also had related patent filings with plans in regards to metaverses, digital goods, closely tied to Artifact's business domain, which was virtual sneakers, digital wearables, NFT utilities. Multiple reports note that Nike filed at least 7 patents in 21, covering their plans to create, sell, and virtual footwear and apparel as digital goods. Most widely covered is the CryptoKicks patent, issued to Nike in 2019, which describes a system for linking cryptographically secured digital assets to physical footwear and other digital wearables. And like you said, this is a scenario where even if you're not into digital wearables, simply the idea of being able to authenticate real product, whether it's Nike sneakers or high-end handbags or luggage, it just makes sense. In today's world, if you're selling luxury items, to not be using something to authenticate that. And I know there's paper and you can have docs. If you buy a $250,000 watch, you're going to get, proof that it's real, or you should. But this stuff makes sense logically, rationally. I was kind of sad when Nike shut it down, not just for the holders and the community, but also I thought they could have done some really cool stuff with sneakers. Imagine if it wasn't Steppen, but imagine it was Nike that launched a Steppen-like product. I don't know, Steppen, if you're not familiar, it was you could get paid to walk, basically one of the first walk to earn or move to earn type protocols. And it was a mania for a while. I mean, it was one of those third-party airdrops there was several, but as Bored Ape holders, we got a pair of Steppen shoes that my former co-host Steve sold his for 3 ETH. And I said, I got 2. I sold 1. And then the second I said, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to out earn Steve on his 3 ETH. I'm going to keep Steppen and I think I earned 30 cents. So Steve won that bet. I got 30 cents that I probably never even claimed. And he got 3 ETH for selling the sneaker instead of using it. But I digress. It kind of tokenomics failed. They're still around. They're still going concern. There's a few others in the space that have, startups that have attempted to do the move to earn thing. Man, it would have been cool to see a Nike or an Under Armour or one that had a massive distribution attempt to do something similar. You mentioned Louis Vuitton and their foray into NFTs. The one that I remembered was the Soulbound token. They sold this in June of 2023 for 41K. It can't be resold. It was a Soulbound token. I was trying to see how many there was. I couldn't find a supply here. I'll go look for the actual contract or the OpenSea collection here in a second. But these Soulbound tokens, basically, it was kind of like the Monolith box from Artifact, where you were getting goodies from it, and you got, I believe they did get some product for free. And I think there was also, by holding this Soulbound token, they got access to future drops, priority access, etc. I wasn't aware that they had a gamified NFT project prior to that. It was called the Louis the Game, which aimed to educate players about the brand's history through interactive gameplay. And their CEO suggested using the technologies like NFTs with high value items could be beneficial for the brand. He said he recognized the positive impact of web executed applications and metaverse NFTs, and indicated the brand's focus in maintaining exclusivity and value in their NFT offerings. His son, who runs a division there, I think still rocks a CryptoPunk. Another son rocks an Ape, or at least did at one point. So the very into NFTs beyond just their expensive trunk they sold for 41K, which, you know, those users, for all I know, have already been made whole on some of the things they were able to claim from that. But Poppy, go and get in here. Thoughts on Artifact? Did they sell to Louis Vuitton? Any other takes as it relates to Artifact or high-end Soulbound token NFTs?
Good morning. Good morning. I wanted to maybe I don't know. It's probably not rain on the parade, but the one thing about the Louis Vuitton rumor is that Louis Vuitton is publicly traded, and in France specifically, the laws are really, really strict about disclosure. Sorry, just getting over this. This congestion is real. Even Mucinex can't beat it. But essentially, these are like Louis Vuitton's a publicly traded company, so they would have to disclose very quickly any acquisition, merger, anything like that. And I mean, if this is rumored to have happened in December, in my opinion, they would have had to say something.
Maybe.
In
Um,
the first month, the first month of the acquisition, because you risk. I mean, it's a much more regulated industry than crypto, and the idea of your pubco, a news like this leaking, could definitely open up the book for insider trading issues, right, on both sides, because it could be looked at as like NFT manipulation as well. Why would that leak? If Louis Vuitton's a publicly traded company and somebody leaked it, on either side, there could be some pretty big issues. And then, somebody from the Artifact team tweeted out, some correspondence kind of confirming. So I don't think it's Louis Vuitton. I mean, I get the lore, and maybe we just need something to speculate about, but I feel like if it was a publicly traded company that acquired them, either the acquisition isn't done and this is going to jam things up for sure. So if it's not official, maybe it was almost done. Maybe there's a handshake agreement, verbal agreement. But if it's not done and this leaked, it's definitely going to throw a wrench at it. And if it's already done and they haven't disclosed it, I would expect it soon to try to curve some of this hype. So that was just my point. Because
valid point. Definitely makes sense. I have thought the same thing, and also thought, yeah, in publicly traded companies, they make major acquisitions, they have to disclose it. However, the deal, I mean, Nike didn't even disclose it the first time they bought Artifact because the deal wasn't material to their business. Nike does 50 billion in annual revenues. LVMH is even bigger. They do 85 billion in annual revenues. And this deal, like, I think Nike just discloses like a footnote, but it's not material enough to, or at least again, presumably Nike paid a lot more for it than whoever this buyer would have been. There was rumors anywhere from 100 million upwards of $1 billion. And even that wasn't enough to trigger disclosure requirements. And therefore, I think whether it was LVMH, yes, maybe it is different in Europe than, I mean, I know it is different than in Europe than here, but even still, I think it has to be either a material amount or have some material impact on their shareholders. And I frankly, I don't think their shareholders are going to care. Maybe down the road it's material, but today it was probably, like, I'm guessing, a very low cost acquisition, if not free. Hey, take this thing off our hands. There's been other acquisitions in crypto where the sellers actually paid the acquirers to take NFT collections off their hands and take on the headaches. So yeah, I don't.
I do believe that if there was something, it was probably done in December because of taxes, right? Think about clearing out your books for the year, getting an opportunity to maybe close out some some big losses if there was like valued property that was, yeah, to your point, given away or sold at a really, really small number, then there probably was an acquisition. But it just, whether the shareholders are affected or not, the disclosures are really strict because, you know, it is a publicly traded security, and it's the SEC don't play around with that type of stuff. Whereas
Yeah, it's just
some of
such a
these other
small deal.
agencies
Like
are a lot more
it's just
lenient.
yeah, I hear you, and you're right. It's just too small. It doesn't even hit like it actually.
And but if there's patents, like to Ellen's point, if they acquire, but think about this, right? Even if it's small. So I got involved in a company. I invested. They were called Infinite Reality. Now they're Napster AI. I invested like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago in their friends and family. And everything that they do from an acquisition standpoint is not only strategic to grow, the company and its offering and its technology, but they're acquiring patents. That's a big part of, growing a company that you do want to take public or that's already public. When you acquire patents and trademarks and significant intellectual properties like that, your value does go up, but also it's good for the press. And so, if I don't think Louis Vuitton is buying an NFT project that doesn't have royalties, that doesn't have a great reputation, at least, of recent. It is historical and it does have Murakami involved, but why wouldn't they create their own? Number one. To me, I think Ellen nailed it. Like, if there's an acquisition by a company like LV, it would be for the IP, for some patents, if they actually do hold some strong patents on, chipping, authenticating, on chain, like physical assets on chain. There's a lot of value in that. But in my opinion, from a PR standpoint, even though the artifact acquisition isn't big, they would have made an announcement saying, we just acquired these patents so it's how you twist it, right? They wouldn't say we acquired artifact. They would say we acquired 6 patents in a move that also included artifact, which, and then you immediately shift away to go, that includes one of one and nostalgic art from global phenom artist Takashi Murakami. Like, that's your PR move. I would have, if they did
But
acquire
what
it,
I'm saying though, Poppy,
I
is
think
that
that's a good thing for their shareholders.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
It's powerful to say we're going to authenticate our stuff.
I agree. But what I'm saying is it's not LVMH's MO. I'm not deep in that. I just did some quick research, and there's at least 7 smaller acquisitions that are far bigger than Artifact that they didn't have to disclose at time of acquisition because they weren't material to their. They just do. They do $84 billion in annual sales. It's one of the largest companies in the world, and I would guess they probably at most would have paid 8 figures for Artifact. I doubt it was 8. It probably wasn't even 7. I don't. Who knows? And who knows what went with it? I did just find that 2 of the Artifact patents that were transferred to Nike were transferred back to Artifact Inc. in November of 25. The other thing we noted when we first hit on this, because I did also joke that Nike was tax loss harvesting their Artifact bags at the end of the year. There was also a lawsuit that the former holders had filed against Nike. And shortly after that, this deal broke in January. It closed apparently December 16th. Around that exact same time, Nike also filed a motion to dismiss that lawsuit that had been filed against them related to the Artifact rug, as it was called in the suit. But yeah, there's not seeing anything new from December or January yet in terms of patent transfers. But that's what it's might be the first like telltale sign that who the buyer might be is if something pops up in patents, because it likely would not be LVMH having to disclose it due to financials. They'll probably disclose it at some point. But what I'm seeing is their MO is oftentimes they make acquisitions like this and they don't disclose it until after they've made their changes and they're ready to talk about what's next. So it probably wasn't.
That's a good take. No. That's a good take. I think that's a good perspective. That's a fair perspective.
Yeah.
Did you say the lawsuit was with? You said holders, but did you mean the former owners sued Nike?
No. They're collectors, holders that bought the artifact NFTs sued Nike because
people came together and did I guess was it a class action or was it just like a small group?
Good question. I assumed class action, but I don't really know.
That's really interesting. I don't know if any of you heard about that, but that is pretty interesting. Because I was thinking if it was the former owners.
Yeah, it was a class action. They filed in April of last year. It was a class action accusing the company of a rug pull by shutting down the artifact digital ecosystem in late 24, causing the value of the NFTs to plummet, destroying the promised features. With plaintiffs alleging unregistered securities and consumer fraud, the lawsuit seeking over $5 million in damages claims that Nike actions violated consumer protection laws by failing to disclose risk and effectively devaluing digital assets that they were led to believe would retain value. Plaintiffs allege that the buyers of artifact NFTs claim that Nike shut down a virtual shoe project in December 24 amounted to a brazen rug pull, destroying the value of the digital collection. Based on the claims, they sued alleged Nike failed to register the NFTs as securities and did not disclose risk associated with project termination, violating consumer protection laws in multiple states, and holders lost significant value of their NFTs, which were once promoted with the promise of ongoing ecosystems, quests, and exclusive real-world rewards. Was filed in New York's Eastern District, and it's not been dismissed yet, but Nike motioned to dismiss it around the same time as this sale took place, allegedly. Oxy, welcome to the stage. GM, what do you think about Artifact, LVMH? Any merit in this potential rumor?
Yeah, no, I was just going to come in and speak to, you guys kind of arrived at the right conclusion, but I was just going to speak to disclosure of this type of thing, and then also the tax write-off thing. So first, I think you guys landed on the right conclusion where it would never be anywhere remotely material to disclose, to have to disclose this acquisition or this disposal. It'll be just thrown into some kind of other bucket on their financial statements or in their disclosures and their footnotes. So it's why the acquisition wasn't on the financials in the first place, and why we don't know what the acquisition purchase or amount was for. And then similarly with the disposal, it'll probably never show up on Nike's. And then if it's a publicly traded company, it'll likely never show up on, if it's LV, it's probably never going to show up on their acquisitions either. So you guys landed on the right conclusion there. It's just too small to show up in a public filing like that. Related to the tax harvesting though, which is interesting, is for companies, if you have an investment on your books, or a company on your books, they'd likely just write it down, and as the valuation continues to decline, to where at the end of the day it's worthless, and they've already captured that loss anyway. So if it is I don't know, this is why I don't think another publicly traded company like LV or Adidas or whoever else might be selling it at the time of the December timeframe, is because it doesn't really matter to them, because they've already captured and harvested that loss them already in their financials. So I think it's just a coincidental thing when it comes to the December disposal. But it also could have been, if it's a smaller company buying or acquiring the IP and all that goes with it, maybe it is a balance sheet boosting thing that they can say, oh, look, in December we purchased this. We wanted to get it through before December 31st, because now look at when we issue our 10K or whatever it might, our financials to our investors, we can show that we acquired this IP. So it could be something on the buy side, but I don't think it's anything on the sell side that caused that December sale.
I think so. I don't know. My assumption was when they shut it down in November 24, they probably wrote the book down. They probably wrote the book value down to zero in 24. So I think I would agree. That's probably likely that it was already written down to zero or $1 or close to it. And so it probably wasn't tax loss harvesting. Rather, they probably actually showed a gain on the sale, unless it was they gave it away for $1. Who knows? We may never know. I have a feeling we'll probably find out soon-ish who the buyer is. I also I'm gonna stay on top of this the patent transfer. That apparently might be fast. When we see anything public, we might see a transfer patent. So if I get a if I get a ping on that, I got a robot out there searching the interwebs on a daily basis, and it'll notify me if there's any movement. And if so, we'll bring everyone up to speed. But a quiet acquisition also would not require immediate patent reassignment. Design patents. Okay, yeah. So we'll keep an eye on it. We've got a watch list of shell entities that LVMH might plausibly use, and we'll cross reference the artifact team against the new filings as well, and we'll keep everyone updated there. But it will be interesting. I don't know. I mean, let me ask you this, and I'll get Oxy, Poppy, and then Ilan, if you want to get in on this, and then Joey McAvely, feel free as well. But quick question, quick answer. Yes, bullish or bearish? Would it be bullish or bearish if LVMH is the actual buyer? Oxy?
Can I say indifferent or nothing?
Yeah, it's fair.
I'll say bullish, just simply because it was shut down to zero. So I mean, anything in the opposite direction is probably bullish, I guess.
Yeah, let me rephrase it another way. I agree, and I think if it's announced it's LVMH, we probably see another floor price pump from where it's at today after its initial pump. I guess my question would be, after, let's say, 2 weeks of an announcement, is the floor higher than it is when it's announced, or lower? Like, does if there's nothing else other than that's announced, there's no other utility, there's no promises, it's just that, hey, we now own this IP and we plan to do some stuff with it maybe in the future. Is that bullish or bearish, specifically as it relates to floor price, let's say 2 weeks after announcement?
Floor price is down because LVMH is not going to move fast enough for Web3 to be happy with whatever they're deciding to do with it.
I think it's a valid take. Poppy, thoughts, bullish or bearish, if it is LVMH?
Ooh. Overall, long term, neutral.
Okay, a lot of neutrals.
I just think people will leverage that. People would leverage that always, whether they did it. I don't know that they would assign an employee to do that, to let alone a team to do anything. I think that they would just take the patents and build on those. So I think the Web3 would run the news to one ETH, no doubt. Like, if that is the case, from a trading perspective, like, clones probably hit like 0.7 to 1 ETH, but yeah, neutral overall.
Yeah, no, I also just got some inside info that respectfully, LV does not buy Trishart. So do with that what you will. Joey, bullish or bearish? I'm not saying that. I was quoting someone else. I think the CloneX art's fine. Go ahead, Joey. Bullish.
I mean, I'm bearish on CloneX if LVMH buys them, because bought them as like a package deal, because I just don't see LVMH doing anything with the CloneX PFP collection. If they bought them, I think they bought them specifically for technology and patents that they'll probably use on existing LVMH brands, versus like, oh, let's do something with these really cool PFPs because we happen to buy patents. Like, I think it's bearish long term. I think it's super bearish long term for CloneX.
Yeah,
I just don't see LVMH associate, like, when you think of LVMH brands, it's all like high-end luxury. And I just don't, no offense to CloneX holders, I don't see CloneX PFPs as high-end luxury.
I'm luxurious, Joey.
I agree with the take. The exception, or where I would push back a little bit, is Takashi is the common denominator, and he's like that. That's where I think this may hold some merit, is because he's got a very deep relationship with LVMH and a very deep relationship with Artifact. He also had continued to bullpost NFTs, got a lot of crap for it on, and I don't think it was him, but some of the moves that the team made. But he's still out there beating the NFT drum when most traditional artists left a long time ago. Traditional artists of acclaim that came into NFTs. So like, if it wasn't for Takashi Murakami, I would agree with you. This is unlikely acquisition. Why would Louis Vuitton need this if not just for the tech and the patents? I do think Takashi is the X factor here, and that's why I'm even giving this any oxygen.
How much association does anybody know how much association Murakami still has with Clone X outside of his name being on it, because I feel like he's completely gone. I mean, he's done a lot of physical stuff, right? He's got like trading cards now. Yeah, there's still some NFT digital stuff, but like, I mean, like, is he really that like direct line connected to them still?
That's what I was gonna say, Joey. I think, at least from my perspective, like Clone X dash Takashi Murakami is the title of their collection on the marketplaces. But like, Cap, I hear you. The thing is, if he was that passionate, he would have been here. You know, like I don't. For a collection to be relevant in 2026, there needs to be an operator that has a presence in Web3. And I don't need to elaborate on that. I think we've all seen it. Like, whether it's the CEO or a really great community manager like Jeremy, right? When Gary's not around, Jeremy reps VFriends. That's a great example. So they would need still somebody that would be passionate about the space and willing to get on spaces and get in Discord and talk to the holders, for it to be relevant, in my opinion, at this stage in the game. To rebuild trust, it would be mandatory. And maybe it was Machiavelli that acquired them. Just thinking out loud here.
So I agree and disagree at the same time. I agree with, if anyone's wanting to come in and build a Web3 crypto native community, yes. On the other end of the spectrum, and I don't know what the patents were. I'd have to look into it further, but it wasn't just Artifact. It was patents that Nike was following as early as 2019. And Nike is a, they play the patent game and they play it well. So there could be something. And while they may not be in the quote unquote trenches, at least two of the sons of the LVMH CEO, one of the wealthiest men in the world, at least two of his sons are pretty deep in NFTs, meaning like they were community members. They were in Discords, like they are. So there is, I'm not saying, are they going to get on host spaces and stuff? No, but they were early to NFT tech. And I'm not saying it's likely. I don't think it's likely, but I do think there's merit for several of these reasons. It could just be a patent play and they want to do some stuff. Now, the flip side of this is there are other companies out there that hold some patents. So what that looks like, I don't know. I'm getting outside of my realm here a little bit, but I am going to quote Von Frunten here. He says, with all this stuff, there likely lives in some innovation lab with these companies. They run pilots, they measure against KPIs, and then they decide whether to scale or abandon. Commenting, notating on .swoosh, Artifact, Odyssey, etc. All great ideas, probably didn't clear their internal targets and were required to graduate from the quote unquote innovation lab. And so did they take another shot? Like, I don't know. Like, I think it was maybe Nike is exiting the space altogether. Maybe they're like, hey, we can't do anything while we have this suit. We can't put any focus or attention on .swoosh while we have this pending class action suit for Artifact. Let's unload Artifact. Let's get the class action dismissed, and then we can continue on our plans with .swoosh. Or maybe they kill .swoosh. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy, naive, and overly optimistic. I do think there's a world where the LVMHs, the Starbucks of the world, I think there's a world in the future where they come back and leverage on-chain technology. Will it be different? Will they do it by way of NFTs? I don't know. Probably not. But they might. Like, the soulbound token chest makes sense. Like, I know one of the first NFT lawsuits was the Meta Birkins. Like, you're selling designer handbags that are 5-6 figures. You should be able to know with 100% certainty that this is the authentic one. This is real. This is not a knockoff. And blockchain tech, it does enable that. So like, I do think we're getting to the world where we're talking about tokenizing everything. We're bringing on traditional equities and all these TradFi companies coming on chain. I'll see if I still own it. If not, some of you will buy it. But I'm going to check my domains right now. Like, at one point, I bought, I think it was onchainsupplychain.com, something like that, because I do think that for many things, not just high-end luxury handbags or sneakers, freaking olive oil, wine, honey, all these things would be better for consumers if you could scan a QR code and it's going to track the entire supply chain and show you where it originated from and prove that the one you have is authentic. I still think that world happens. Is it 2026? I have no idea. Probably not. Is it Nike and LVMH? I don't know. Probably not. It's probably much more likely that it's a startup that makes it a big thing first. But I do think there's a future potentially where some of these very large established brands re-enter crypto, re-enter NFTs, but not in the way they entered it the first time. It's not going to be collecting NFT JPEGs. It's not going to be collecting stamps or anything like that. But I do think from a simply using the technology, and I'm a little biased here, but we were talking, Retcoin and WorldStar. I do think maybe not in its exact current form. I'm not saying all these big brands launch something like Retcoin, but I do believe that on-chain loyalty programs would be better than off-chain loyalty programs. Hard stop. Like I truly believe that. You can't convince me otherwise at this point. And I would love to see some major player reinvent, not that they would be reinventing it, but they would be the ones putting it on the map if they choose to go all in on chain loyalty programs. Joey, go ahead.
I mean, people forget back in 2022, De Beers, which I believe everyone knows who they are, which is the diamond company. They released a blockchain or partnered with somebody to track like the sourcing of diamonds, and so it's not like this is something new. Like this is happening. I believe there's another big diamond sourcer or something that also instituted some blockchain. So I agree with you. I think that that is the future, because it's provenance, right? It's immutable. It's going to be a way for us to track ownership long term, and identity and all that stuff. So it's been happening. There's an article May 2022 from De Beers.
Yeah, speaking of diamonds, this is not the pump fund chart or meme coin chart. Diamonds down bad. Diamonds are bleeding. No longer the De Beers marketing campaign that worked brilliantly for so many years appears to be losing some steam. Hard pivot into the Zcash update, and then we are going to talk all things macro. I think the first announcement might be hitting here at 9:30. I'll pull that up in a second. But the quick update, this is from Josh Swihart, the CEO or former CEO of Electric Coin Company, now working on Cash Z. Josh, one of the creators of Zcash and Zashi app, says, we're all in on Zcash. We need to scale Zcash to billions of users. Startups can't scale. Startups can scale, but nonprofits can't. That's why we created a new Zcash startup. We're launching a new Zcash wallet, cashz.org. So Mert was right, kind of. The team did leave. There was a mass exodus from Electric Coin Company. I still am confused as to why. Like, there's what is the foundation? Like, why was this group of people? Why was this board telling anyone what to do? There has to be some sort of financial tie-in. I also not going to go down this rant. We are going to move on to macro stuff, but we might be in the end days of DAOs as we formerly knew them, as foundations as we formerly knew them, as far as like a new going concern. It's just like, first it was Aave, then Zcash. It's like, what were they there to begin with? Like, and if the foundation doesn't own anything, if they don't hold any of the tech, if they don't own the contract, if they don't own any of the IP, what's their point? And if they do own any of that stuff, well, you can't just go leave, start a new company, and take something. There's still more information that we don't have. Maybe it's out there. It probably is. I just haven't went and read all the forums and understand the exact structure here. But if these were off-chain businesses, and nonprofit or not, if it was the entity that owned the brand, the IP, if there was a treasury, like, you can't just leave and take all that stuff. Like, it's still owned by the nonprofit. So that's where my confusion lies. This might not be the end of this story. Like, there's a world where the foundation, Electric Coin Company, comes after all the new employees. Yes, they're still working on Zcash, but they did leave the company that was previously running Zcash and doing all the dev work. So there's something that's not, dots aren't connecting. I don't fully understand it, but the team is still building out, working on Zcash initiatives. I just would like to know who owns the actual smart contract stuff. Who like there's got to be something else there, but that's the latest. GG's to everyone who longed Zcash at the bottom yesterday. Nice little pop back up. I'll check currently. We are at 433. That's up 6% on the day. It hit a low of looks like right around 384. So let me just share this so you all can see for those watching video, and then we are going to move into macro here in 1 second. The had its big run up, was sitting 522 as early as January 6th, and then the news broke on January 7th, was around 477, crashed down to 384 and back up to 426 as of now. Down 12% on the week, but not near as doom and gloom as it was following the sell. Still not back up to levels it was before the news broke. Last thing on this topic, I'll go back to Josh's feed, because if all this is as being said, this initial post was just very poorly worded, in my opinion. If I'm not missing something, this initial post from Josh that I've got put up on the page here, it just is very not clear. Obviously, and it's not just me saying this. The market responded with a massive 20-30% sell off almost instantly, and they had to come out and basically correct what they said. So, crypto teams, Web3 native teams, please hire some, not just hire, please add some professional comms and PR people to your leadership teams. It will save you not just time and headache, but many potentially millions or billions of dollars in market cap value for unforced errors that you could and should avoid. Not knocking them, and they're certainly not the only ones. Just the most recent to have a very, very costly tweet. Like, it's just crazy to think about that. Like, this tweet eroded over $1 billion of market cap because of a poorly worded tweet. And they go, oh, we're back. Merck can call people retards and whatever he wants. That was a weird way to pronounce retards. You can tell I'm not comfortable saying the R word still. It was poorly done. Like, yeah, maybe people misunderstood it for a reason, because the tweet was very poorly worded and it made it look different than what the outcome appears to be. And this isn't me saying this. This is a massive sell-off in the market. What following a tweet that made it look like the entire team was leaving. All that said, we're going to hard pivot here into Joey, go ahead while I pull up the macro news that we got to keep eyes on today.
Yeah, real quick. I don't know if you saw what Von Frutton put in the war room about, because you mentioned rec drinks, but apparently, if you shop at any of those 200 Eagle grocery stores, you'll get a coupon that you'll be able to redeem through the Base app to earn rec points. So they're starting to onboard consumers, I guess, through a coupon redemption program at those Eagle grocery stores, which I thought is super cool and a great way to get more people on chain.
Yeah, I love it. Big news. So thanks for that. Appreciate the update. I'm lagging on the war room. So yeah, thanks for the heads up. We'll show this and then we will get into the macro conversation. As Joey said, your supermarket rewards are now on chain with Rect and Base. From January 12th to February 28th, Rect Drink Rewards go live in-store at almost 200 Giant Eagle locations. Purchase a 4-pack, receive a coupon at checkout, claim via Base app. I wonder, obviously the activity on chain, I wonder how deep Base is involved in this relationship. Just as I said yesterday, I think the World Star drink, the Cherry Cola, is probably a collaboration. I'm sure this is more than just them launch. I would guess. I'm not sure. I would guess this is more than just them launching on Base.
Jesse put out a tweet. I think it was yesterday. Jesse put out a tweet where he said Base is doubling down on helping apps go viral. Come build with us. Okay. So I would assume if they're pushing people to the Base app, maybe there's some type of agreement, partnership with Base, and Base helping grow the Rect brand.
Yeah, great, good call. Best case scenario is these rec drink buyers get, they go buy a 4-pack and they get more than they paid for it in rec drink or rec coin, and then a few months later they get a base token that's worth 5 figures and they're hooked. They're on chain, like the rest of us onboarded NFTs in 21. I kid, but could be potentially future base rewards for these rec drink enjoyers as well. So yeah, appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Here is the big news though, and we already have some of it out. I said 9:30. It was actually 8:30. So if anyone has the numbers, I've not looked yet. I will scan the timeline here in a second. But this is what we have happening today. Major news, extreme volatility expected. At 8:30, we just got U.S. unemployment rate. We have also non-farm payrolls. And then at 10, so here in 40 minutes, we get the Supreme Court tariff decision. I'll go check the current poly market on that. And also at 10, the Fed president speaks. And then at 3:30, U.S. metals net position data. I'm not sure of all these. I think the 3:30 net metals position is probably the least impactful as far as markets. I mean, everything else, payroll data, unemployment data, the Supreme Court tariff decision is probably a big one. And then who knows what the Fed president is going to say at 10 as well. So I'm looking for...
What is what's the poly market, or what are the odds that we're getting we are getting a rate cut, not getting a rate cut? Is that what we're waiting on from the Fed chair?
Looks I'm Fed decision. I don't know when the next Fed decision in January. It looks like no change, but I'm not seeing when when the next I don't know if that would be today's meeting. No. So it's scheduled for 27th and 28th is the next official Fed meeting. And as of now, it is 96% no change. So not expecting any rate cut in January. They've been running pretty close to accurate on those Fed decisions. The tariff conversation, though, the tariff rolling. I spelled tariffs right, I guess. Should be a leading one, I would think. Will Trump acquire Greenland before 2027? 16% chance of that. Israel strikes Iran by the end of the month, 35% chance of that. U.S. strikes Iran by the 11th, 5% chance. By the 31st, 29% chance. Their supreme leader out by the end of the month, 18% chance. I know that's not what we were talking, but those are the first ones I'm seeing. I don't know where. I know this was here. I don't know why I'm not seeing the tariff. Maybe Supreme Court's what I need to search. If anyone has the payroll data, please share that in the chat or come up if you want to speak on it. Here is the.
Didn't somebody share it in the war room?
Probably. I'll go ahead there next.
Let me scroll. I'll go scroll and look for you.
Here is 26% chance of them rolling in favor of the Trump's tariffs. This decision, again, in about 40 minutes. So 74% chance that they roll them not legal and force the court forces Trump to refund tariffs, which interesting development as we just hit, I believe, our lowest trade deficit in maybe ever was. I don't know if that would be right, but in many, many years, in modern times, probably in our lifetimes anyways. I should pull up the actual.
Oxy posted, and he said, Oxy, employment data out. You said slightly better than expected, but the initial looks, and then you stopped. Maybe Oxy has the data.
Yeah, right below that, Mayhem posted a good summary from Wizard. He was just saying it's basically a mixed bag for employment data. Basically saying January rate cut is for sure gone, simply based on those numbers.
Okay. So I wonder, I didn't see if that shot up even more unlikely after the news this morning, but yeah, I would say 97, 98% does look like not happening. I'm going to scroll back up. Maybe just completely missed it. Oh, there we go. So, yeah. So Non-farm payrolls rise 50,000 plus 60,000. Unemployment 4.4%, estimated 4.5%. Average hourly earnings rose 0.3%, and year over year rose 3.8%. January rate cut is gone for sure, said Wizard. So there you go. I'm not sure what else to make about that, but I mean, do you have any personal takes or opinions on the employment data? Just kind of is what it is. I don't want to say a nothing burger, but kind of a nothing burger.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think people are just kind of uncertain. Really, companies are uncertain. No one really knows what's going to happen. So it's just kind of like this weird, yeah, nothing's happening. And we're just kind of waiting to see what happens kind of deal.
What do you have an opinion on the Supreme Court decision? Do you think the tariff decision moves markets one way or the other?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for sure. Changing something that
looks like
drastic.
Looks like we had to get a sell-off. Looks like sorry to interrupt. Looks like we had to get a dump. Bitcoin went from like 90,730 down to 89,651 on the employment news. But then, like we often see on these, on whether it's CPI or employment news, we see it go one direction, then almost immediately correct, and it's bounced back up over 90K again, 90,300. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if that decision is massive. I think if it is overturned, I think that's a huge. I think it's a huge change to policy in all economic factors. So if it is overturned and tariffs have to be sent back or however they end up deciding to handle that, I think that's a huge change in economic policy. But then also, I mean, people have been pumping their costs or prices, right? So to compensate for that. So what does that mean for prices? Likely nothing changes. Companies maintain the same price instead of adjusting for inflation or for tariff costs. And I know things just continue as usual, and margins are better for companies. So I think it's I think it's a huge decision.
Yeah, I do as well. We'll get Joey and Ilan here in a minute. For what it's worth, maybe it's not worth anything. I don't necessarily trust news really from any channel. I would say I don't trust mainstream. Yeah, I also don't trust news on X. You really gotta do your research nowadays. For what it's worth, the top stories, the top 4 trending articles once the employment data came out, the employment data came out. I guess it was a little before that, but then Bitcoin RSI hints at 105K. Bitcoin price rebound as bull signals multiply. Bitcoin price analysts, Bitcoin possibly poised for breakout from tight range. Bitcoin is at a volatility floor seen only 1% of the time. And then the big one here, like I'm going to have to check this from another source because this is insane. Van Eck predicts Bitcoin price could hit $53 million. Not investing is riskier than investing. The $180 billion asset manager encouraged a 3% allocation in Bitcoin, said its price could hit $53 million by 2050. I'm certainly planning to be alive that long. As cryptocurrency adopted as the settlement layer for global trade. Again, they steward $181 billion in assets and outlined the bullish case for top digital asset in a note sent to investors on January 8th. So I haven't seen this, but if Van Eck did actually call for a price target of 53 million in the next 24 years, I know it's a long time, but sometimes you do invest with decade-long timelines, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an asset that any firm, let alone one managing 181 billion in assets, is calling currently an asset priced at about 100K, calling it to go to 53 million. That is what is that? 530x? I can't do math. Too early in the morning. Joey, help me, save me here, and then we'll go to Ilan.
On the tariff thing, I think obviously I'm not an economic expert, but I think it does 2 things. I think the first thing it does is it weakens Trump's position. As his whole thing is like, these are my plans to get the economy and money back into Americans and American made. And if they overrule him and say he doesn't have that kind of power, I think that kind of weakens his position a little. And the other thing is, I was reading, I saw something about how like the decision could have a $200 billion impact. I don't know if that's underestimating or overestimating, but 200 billion sounds like a pretty large number that, depending on how this goes with the Supreme Court, I would wager that would move markets tremendously if that's the case.
That was not accurate information. Van Eck did release a investor update yesterday. This isn't quite as wrong as me telling Joey to go buy a Clonex mint vial that was positive expected value because he could sell it for higher than the Clonex floor.
I lost $5. You owe me $5.
It's not that bad of information, but you can just say things on the internet. Not only can you just say things, you can say things, and Google AI is going to say this is a lead article with a key bullet point you should be paying attention to, because it wasn't quite 53 million. Rather, their base model for Bitcoin reaching 2.9 million by 2050, driven its adoption as a settlement currency for 5 to 10% of the global trade and as a reserve asset comprising 2.5% of central bank balance sheets. So that's their base target. I'm looking for a extreme bull target, and oh my God, they did. Holy cow. So yeah, it's an accurate article. I take it back. I was right. I shared good information today. This is insane. What? So bear target it's basically stays the same price. It goes up to 130K 25 years from now. Base target is 2.9 million per Bitcoin. Bull target, and this assumes 20% Bitcoin share of trade percent, assumes Bitcoin share of domestic GDP at 10%, annual trade in Bitcoin in the billions of 27,000 billion, excuse me. And that would put the price per Bitcoin at 53 million per. That represents a CAGR of 29%. It's not crazy when you think about it in terms of compound annual growth rate. That's aggressive. Don't get me wrong. Like, certainly aggressive for an asset class of this size. My CAGR thinks in like the retail world. So like 15 to 29%, while aggressive is doable. Little shocked by Van Eck calling for a $53 million bull case. Ilan, thoughts on that? Do you agree with Van Eck's take here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a little bit too many unknowables between now and then. I am a massive Bitcoin bull. I love Bitcoin. It's probably my largest position in my entire financial portfolio. But I think largely what we have been seeing, of course, is the devaluation of dollar and dollar dominance versus gold in particular. And I think that, what we will see relatively soon in the context of dollar devaluation and the importance of the dollar as reserve global currency is there's going to have to be, an audit of who owns gold, right? Like, no one's just going to take people's word for it anymore, because a lot of that shiny gold has hands, and whenever they start doing an audit, people are going to be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? This is so tedious and so antiquated in the context of, or obviously Bitcoin, which we can track and see, and we don't have, it proves the Bitcoin use case essentially whenever that inflection point sort of hits. So I think we will see a pretty massive catalyst to Bitcoin whenever we do have that sort of inflection moment where people go, why are we have to do an audit of gold in order to understand where people are positioned if gold is going to continue its rise versus the dollar. And we're looking for an alternative global reserve from the dollar because of the dollar's devaluation, all shenanigans that essentially have happened thus far. And the stated goal of the administration is to devalue the dollar. So that's a massive one for Bitcoin. I think there's a lot of tailwinds there, but as far as like the projections for Van Eck, I think that it's wild. It's obviously wild to hear, such an established institution like them put those projections out there. I think it's a powerful statement for Bitcoin and for them to be making those projections, in the context of a TradFi institution that's been looking at this, that's heavily invested in this, and that has these sort of potentialities mapped out in the note. Gives a lot of ammo for the maxis to continue what we've been talking about all along, in the context of digital gold reserves, and the valuation of Bitcoin just going up and to the right. I think that obviously fluctuations in the 3% range at the moment, of course, are negligible in the context of all the shenanigans that have been going on with centralized exchanges after 1010. But obviously, we want to keep an eye out for a breakout, of those ranges that we've sort of established over the last little bit, as the centralized exchanges play their games, to try to again, add the reserves in this game of volatility that they've been playing. But of course, Saylor says volatility, is a blessing for Bitcoin, and I think that we'll see relatively soon that breakout to the upside, and it'll be quick, and people will go. There will be the "I told you so," and then there will be the people that'll just say, "Oh yeah, now we're in a new bubble," of Bitcoin. But that's neither here nor there. That's the conversation that has been had from the beginning. So, and in the context of the tariffs, I think that there's already contingencies in place. I think that there's very, very high probability that SCOTUS will hand down a decision that says that the justification that they've used thus far doesn't hold up. But all the insiders, Navarro and the administration, have said they have contingencies in place that will keep those on foot. They will use other statutes to ensure that this isn't a binary event where the SCOTUS hands down a decision that says or invalidates those powers, and we have to go back and pay back all these tariffs. They have, like I said, other justifications and legal avenues to ensure that those tariffs stay on foot. Whether those get again challenged in SCOTUS will be a question for the future. But there will. I mean, I do think that there will be some volatility when obviously the decision gets handed down, and that decision will, in all likelihood, be that they don't have the power. And so the knee-jerk of reaction obviously is the headline risk there. But I think once we sort of head out into it's crazy, right? Like it's Friday, right? Like it's always a crazy thing that this is getting handed down on a Friday. March is going to be closed over the weekend. Over the weekend, we'll digest this information that will come out. Obviously, the administration will come out with their secondary convenient justification for these tariffs, and we'll be back on Monday. So.
Of course, this comes out on a Friday. I think you're right. My question, I'm just not, I'm not as knowledgeable as I probably should be on Supreme Court activities. My assumption is that if they roll not in favor or they say they're illegal, there's probably an appeal. Is that safe to assume, or is this the final decision today? Are you well versed on the Supreme Court enough to answer that?
Well, I mean, I think that SCOTUS is the law of the land, and I think that again, whenever SCOTUS hands down a decision, it is finality. But I think that, like I said, it depends on how the Supreme Court words it, right? And that's always like the lawyer answer to everything. It depends. If they completely strike this authority and hand down, a strong decision, with a powerful majority decision that says, the laws that the president used to justify these tariffs do not allow him to do that. That will be the law of the land, and that will hold, 3 times. So that in future, of course, sets the precedent that presidents can't use the power that he suggested that to implement these tariffs. But again, like I said, I mean, there are alternate avenues that they've already discussed, including ad nauseum, including Navarro, which is one of Trump's economic advisors, that says, look, we have all of these other, laws in our back pocket that allow us to do what we've done. But so the question will then be, of course, will those be challenged in court?
Yep. Interesting times for sure. That announcement, that decision has come. I don't know if it'll be right at 10 a.m. or proceedings start at 10. I don't know. Some point at 10 o'clock or after 10 Eastern time. So here in about 20 minutes would be the earliest. It might be an hour later. I don't know, but I would be, if you have any open positions, if you have any, especially leverage positions, I would recommend you keeping an eye on the charts going into the 10 o'clock hour. Especially if you've got the lever ratcheted up on the other direction. Poppy, I saw your hand fly up, but you're showing as a listener on my screen. If you do have a hand up, you're free to get in here, but it's showing me as a listener. I don't think you're going to be able to get in. Maybe you have to take a lap and request back up if you'd like to get back in here. But yeah, it shows you as a listener now on my end. It's weird because I don't remember if I've ever seen a hand pop up from a listener like that. The other thing I wanted to point out, and then I want to move on to this ETF conversation. This has always been the way, or always been the case. I think as far as their suggested allocation, this is coming again from Van Eck. I did, by the way, I pinned up that article up top. I took a screenshot of this, the other chart you were seeing, and the article is in the first link. If you want to read yourself, click through that link up top. The 1 to 3% strategic allocation for Bitcoin, nothing not out of the ordinary. What caught my attention was the high risk tolerant optimization up to 20%. Maybe there's some other firms. I think that's the first time I've seen up to 20% from Van Eck. While those of us here might, I've got 20% of my net worth in Bitcoin, and we're fine with that. That seems normal and no big deal. I'm guessing the average Van Eck investor, that would be a massive portion of their portfolio. And even if they don't go there yet, I think that it's almost is this a bull thesis? Is this likely to happen? No, it's like best case scenario. However, it gets attention. And I can't imagine being a Van Eck client having no Bitcoin exposure whatsoever. And then I see this update yesterday, and they're calling for potentially a $54 million, an asset today I can get for less than 100K is going to be $50 million by the time I retire. And they're recommending up to 20% allocation. Like, hey, settle down, buddy. I'm not going to go 20%, but I can't be at zero anymore. If they're thinking this is an extremely bullish report, I know Van Eck is probably vested. They want more people buying their ETF, etc. And you can just say things now, I guess, even if you are a fund manager. But I think there are a little more diligence involved in your fund manager than your average crypto Twitter KOL. Oxy, what are your thoughts on this target? And then Poppy, I see you back on stage. We'll get you in here next if you want to join this $53 million Bitcoin conversation. Oxy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, great for the industry, right? Like, market that suggesting to hold more of the asset is only better for us. And I know we're going to get into the ETF conversation as well a little bit, but more ways to get exposure to the assets are obviously better overall for the industry. I guess one thing I want to maybe remind people is that when companies come out, they're very smart people and know how to manage money and know what the financially responsible and good thing to do is. They come out and they say 20% of your net worth or your portfolio should be allocated to XYZ asset, crypto or Bitcoin specifically. The rest of that is in the market, in index funds or mutual funds or what have you. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir for a lot of folks, but I know there are a lot of people on CT that don't have any exposure to equity markets and are fully poured into crypto. And that pains my soul hearing that, because it is just not if you look at the last year, just from now over the last year, throwing your money in an S&P 500 index fund, you would have outperformed Bitcoin by 30%. So it's please, I'm not your financial advisor. This isn't financial advice, but look into the benefits of being exposed to the equity markets as well as the crypto markets. Again, I'm very bullish crypto. I think crypto's a great asset, but look into what you can do with your money in the equity markets as well, because being single, like niche and pigeonholed into the crypto market only is just not financially smart. So just maybe a little read between the lines when something comes out like this, like, hey, it's great for us. 20% is a huge percentage, but like, let's think about that more. Okay, that's the rest of that means it should be exposed to the equity markets or real estate or whatever it might be. So maybe just a little, I don't know, a little tangent from that conversation.
Very, very good take. Very wise. I agree. I don't talk about it here on the show because it's boring to talk about a 401k that just sits there. I'll tell you this, being diversified, even you can be the biggest Bitcoin bull in the world, it's not always up only. Like over the next 25 years, should it be? Yeah, there's also a bear case that it only goes up to 130k, and then you left a lot of gains on the table. Being diversified can, like, I didn't have the best 2025 relatives. Probably I'm an extendor, so I haven't finalized everything, but probably my lightest year since 2020. Fine. I'm not like seeking any sympathy. I'm just saying the reason it was still an okay year is because my 401k was up. So I'll go double check. I think 17%. That helps. And my Tesla bag was up big. Like I don't have I talk often. Thank you for the disclaimer, because I talk often like I'm all in crypto. So I talk about here, but I have my buckets, and my crypto bucket was my high risk bucket that has just grown. Now, even though I do have my other buckets that I've filled, if you have means, you should be maxing out your Roth IRA every year. If you're eligible to do that, and you have the means to do that, you should fill that bucket every year. It's a tremendous investment vehicle. You can, if you want to buy Bitcoin in there, you can do that today. Like you should be. It's very tax advantageous to be maxing out your Roth IRA. I have other buckets now where I did not do the best job of, and when 21, 22 were insane years for me, was I didn't reallocate fast enough, and I could have grown those other buckets significantly. I didn't reallocate fast enough because I kept telling myself, "Oh, I'm only in this thing a few grand. This is like house money." And it was, but I didn't say I would love to have some of those others in other buckets, or even more Bitcoin and more ETH. Now, to the earlier of owning Bitcoin, and oh man, a lot of CT I don't think holds a lot of Bitcoin. Probably doesn't hold a lot of ETH or Solana for that matter either. I saw it's probably nobody talk about his daily DCA into Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be a ton. Like you don't have to go get, if you don't have any Bitcoin, make it your goal this year to go get 0.1 Bitcoin. I know 9 grand, 10 grand, still a lot of money for some people. Start with small DCAing on a daily or weekly basis. Skip out on one less Starbucks coffee, and you could always grow it, but you have to start the habit first and make it a goal to get to 0.1 Bitcoin. If Van Eck is right, and by the time, especially if you're of younger age, by the time 2050 gets here, you may not even be at retirement age, and that 0.1 Bitcoin, if they're right, it's worth $5.3 million for 0.1 Bitcoin. The last thing I think you want to do if you're here and you show up every day is that bull thesis hits, and 25 years from now, you're still sitting with 0 Bitcoin. You're like, oh, if I just woulda, coulda, shoulda, if I just would have put $5 a day into Bitcoin, if I just would have tried to acquire 0.1 Bitcoin a year, like it doesn't stop. If you're doing this, stop comparing yourself to Bitcoin OGs, Bitcoin whales, people who've made 7-8 figures flipping meme coins. Like, set your own goals, chart your own path, and work towards something. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but think if this does come true, where would you like to be? If both come true, if the bear case comes true, you're probably going to want to Oxy's point, you're not going to be 100% in Bitcoin. On the bull case, if the bull case comes true, you're definitely not going to have 0% Bitcoin if you're hearing this today. Don't let that be you. I'm not saying go take on debt to go buy Bitcoin, or like, I'm not saying anything aggressive. I'm just saying it's wise to diversify. And this is financial advisors giving financial advice that you should allocate at minimum 1% for a strategic 1 to 3%. And if you're higher risk, if you're younger, maybe consider up to 20%. Good stuff. Poppy, welcome back to the stage. Thoughts on this? And I do want to hit on the ETF conversation before we get everyone out of here.
Yeah, first off, I'm definitely Bitcoin maxi. Bought my first Bitcoin in 2015. The 53 million is absurd. Like, I think, yeah, it's good. I think it's good for the overall sentiment when these bigger institutions, endorse it, launch ETFs, whatever. Just to put some. I just started jumping on ChatGPT while you guys were talking. To put this into perspective, if Bitcoin had the same market cap as gold, we're at between 700,000 and 800,000 per Bitcoin. That's if we reach the same market cap as gold. For it to reach the same market cap as, let's say, the S&P 500, you're at about 2 to 3 million per Bitcoin. For it to reach 20%, that number is perfect. 20% of global wealth, it's 4.7 million per Bitcoin. And then if you adjust for Bitcoin that's, lost, burned, whatever, you're at like 5, whether that's a factor or not. So, though I think it's great to see some of these projections, and I do think we'll see Bitcoin at, hundreds of thousands in our lifetime, God willing, for there to see it. I think we will see Bitcoin grow and scale. I don't understand the math on that. Seems a little irresponsible, unless there's something that I'm completely missing. Maybe they're projecting, inflation at thousands of percent scaling. I don't know. But anyway, not to be a Debbie Downer, I think it's obviously good that, they're invested in the ETF, not running from it, running to it. I just, it's an intimidating number. And it's like, why did you?
Well, so
why do you have to say that?
Well, the reason is because it's time, right? 53 million. Yeah, it seems like a big number, maybe intimidating, but 25% CAGR is not. And it's like Bitcoin's done this. It's done that and then some over the last decade. Now it's harder to go at 25% a year after you've reached this level. Yeah, but there's also the reality is there's more. Well, I say there's more money flowing into Bitcoin today than ever before. I do think at a annual level, sure. I was talking ETFs. We're going to get into the new Grayscale ETFs here in a second, and then we'll get everyone out of here for the weekend. I was a little surprised to see after in the first 2 days, at least the first 2 market days of 2026, the second and the fifth, over $1 billion of net inflows for Bitcoin. And then it is sold off, net outflows.
Yeah, it's outflows too, because there's still a lot of OG miners that are selling. There's still a lot of selling in the market, even though there is inflows. But dude, 53 million, just doing the math, is over a quadrillion market cap, which is more money than that exists in the entire global economy. So I don't maybe inflation or, if for that to happen, you would need every single currency to merge, collapse, gold, all this stuff. You would need everything to pretty much collapse. And Bitcoin is the only transactional currency, which means every other crypto is wiped to zero. Like, the math just doesn't math. That was my whole point. It's just such a crazy number. Now, of course, they said by 2050, maybe we just keep printing cash. But I don't know. It's just funny when you do the math and you realize, what money is actually there and what those market caps compare to.
Who let a bear on stage? No, I'm just kidding. No,
right, 69 million per Bitcoin. We're going all the way. 420 million. There we go.
Yes, I think the other thing, I'm not going to do math on stage in public without doing math. Actual help, I'll getting assistance to my math. But 25 years, like, inflation is real. There'll be barring some crazy events, there's going to be far more money. The total market cap of everything is going to be much greater than it is today. Just following normal inflation in 25 years is a long time. And I think that's what's so shocking is oftentimes we see these the bull targets like a year, 5 years, 10 years. 25 is a ways away, and who the hell knows? There's also the bear. The real bear case is quantum computing comes and it nerfs it all to zero, and it's worth not 130,000, but it's worth a little of zero. That is in the range of outcomes, whether it's quantum computing or something else. Not only has Bitcoin had ETF outflows last few days after coming out on the year strong, so has ETH. ETH opened up 174 net inflows, 168 net inflows, 113 net inflows. This is in US dollars here. I'm quoting. So 113 to 174 million. And then the last 2 days, it's reversed trend, 98 million out and then 160 million out on yesterday.
Cap. This is a bullish ETH show only. Only bullish on ETH, okay?
Yeah, we remain the ETH bulls. Of the big strategic ETH reserve entities, that list hasn't grown. It's hung around that 68, 69 mark for a while. Although Bitmine is increased their holdings up 5% on the month. They currently hold 3.36% of the supply, still targeting 5% is my understanding. And then I also saw a troll talking about it was a poly market. Will Tom Lee get charged with securities fraud and Ponzi scheme? If you see that floating around, it's a Photoshop. That market does not exist. That's not a threat. It's just probably an ETH bear trying to get in your head. So here we go. On to the news of the day as far as ETFs go anyways. This from Kirby Crypto. Shout out to for Payne, rather, for finding this one. Kirby Crypto has this to say: Grayscale officially registered for the HYPE ETF. If this proceeds, HYPE would be the youngest asset Grayscale has ever created an ETF/trust for. Historically, Grayscale has been extremely conservative. All previous listings were 3 to 10 years old or more before Grayscale touched them. HYPE breaks that pattern completely. Live for about 1 year, still early stage infra, no prior precedent inside Grayscale's lineup. This matters because it likely means that 1, Grayscale views Hyperliquid as structural infrastructure, not just a token. 2, they expect sustained volume plus regulatory survivability. 3, internal conviction that HYPE does not equal altcoin risk bucket. My real life friend group chat can attest. I've been bull posting HYPE in there since earlier this year as the next major. I said by next cycle, and I don't even know if we have cycles. I think might be a thing of the past, but in the few years, I think it is in the conversation of Bitcoin, ETH, Solana as a 4th major, and there could be others. I just think that that's possible that they do sustain and do enter the major or semi-major bucket, at least exit the altcoin risk bucket. I agree with the take, and he says Grayscale does not take filings lightly since their brand is built on credibility with institutions. I will pin this up top for anyone that wants to see the excerpt or read further. But potentially big news there. It was also BNB, I think, was included in that ETF. So BNB and HYPE. Again, we mentioned them viewing Hyperliquid as much more than just the HYPE token, and they're not going to do this if they don't think it survives regulatory wise, as well as sustains at least a good chunk of this volume, if not grows it. Exciting stuff on the HYPE front. The token, however, on the news is not pumped. It's down 2% on the day, 2% on the 24-hour clock. It's up 3.7% on the week, and going to be an interesting weekend. Going to be an interesting day. If you have, this is my final reminder, my PSA, you've got potentially 2 minutes. Great post here. Opportunist says a lot happens in 25 years. And he links a post that came out on Christmas Day. Said things that did not exist on Christmas 25 years ago will probably blow the minds of some of the Zoomers and Gen Alpha tuning in. This is this list of things that did not exist 25 years ago, from Airbnb, AirPods, Amazon Prime, Android, App Store, Bitcoin, Chrome, Facebook, Gmail, Google Maps, Instagram, iPad, iPhone, Netflix streaming, Reddit, Snap, SpaceX, Spotify, Tesla, TikTok, Uber, WhatsApp, X, Xbox, YouTube, and Zoom. The idea of having Zoom. I'm old enough to remember a world before Zoom meetings. We actually had to call in to a conference call bridge. Poppy, I know you've probably hosted hundreds, maybe thousands of conference calls in your day. conference calls were the that was our spaces, that was our Zoom meetings. We did a lot off of the old school conference call, enter a pin and chat with people that you couldn't see. COVID obviously did a lot to explode that industry, but interesting, good random bits of trivia there to wrap up the show. Appreciate that, opportunist. And yeah, I was kind of hanging out here to see if we get any news right at 10. I'm not expecting the rolling at 10. My guess is that proceedings start at 10, but I really don't know. So as I stall for like 60 seconds before I play you out of here, we've been sharing kind of off and on during Cold Open some things coming out of CES this week. I do have some evergreen AI conversations that I'll punt for another day. Maybe we'll dive in those next week if time permits. This for all you with that like nails or have someone in your life that might like nails. Florida-based company, digital beauty brand Eye Polish. They unveiled smart color-changing press-on nails at CES. They can flip between 400 shades in as little as 5 seconds. If you've ever paid for nails, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and now I'll give her credit. She does pay for a lot of her nails. She has a job. She has friends that do nails, and so she's economical about her nails. But have paid for them a couple of times, and I don't know, the ability to change them to 400 shades in seconds seems like there could be some product market fit there. I think these things could be a hit.
Also, seems like potential seizure activity. It's a lot of colors in a little bit of time.
Yeah, you'll see these at a festival near you, almost certainly. But yeah, interesting. A lot of much more relevant stuff came out of CES this year. It seems like CES might be back. I think the AI boom has led to. It used to be an annual pilgrimage for me. Once I exited the repair and cell phone space, I have not returned to CES. I'm not the biggest fan of Vegas, but CES is fun if you've never been. And word on this year was the breakout year. I think they said, first year it's been up like this and had this vibrancy since pre-pandemic. True story. The last CES I was at was I might have been a super spreader. It was COVID had hit in China in January of 2019, I guess. I was at CES the first week of January in 2019. I didn't get sick, but that was if you can think back, there was people speculating that CES, where it's a global event and brings a large Asian large amount of Asian attendees, might have been the one of the triggers that kind of kick things off in the States. I didn't get sick, but it's in range that I was at the first super spreader event for the pandemic in 2019. So I've been to CES. So a lot has changed in the last 6-7 years, and I do think it might be worth taking a look next year. And I've said a few times, I would love to see our space kind of break out of the not only like am I bearish NFT NYC, and I would love to see it us move to more of not just industry-wide conferences. I'd like to see more of the crypto native brands go to the things like the complex cons and whatever makes sense for their brand, whatever they're building, to participate in the non-crypto conferences and have a presence there, not only with a booth, but bring your community, do fun side events there. I think that is a much better way to approach conferences than keep them in our hyper niche bubble that no one outside is definitely not coming to an NFT conference. Well, I shouldn't say definitely. Overwhelming majority of people have no interest in coming to an NFT conference if they're not here. And in fact, just the acronym itself turns a lot of people off. At worst, rebrand to something that doesn't have NFT in the name. Preferably go to the path of like an art basel, where it's not a crypto conference. It just so happens that we took over the show. I think that's the best path moving forward. Ilan flew back up here. I don't think we have any news yet, as I see the poly market hasn't settled. So it's right now showing a 31% chance that the Supreme Court rules in Trump's favor, or in favor of Trump's tariffs. It is going up, but it is not settled. So it tells me the ruling has not been decided. Ilan, is that what brought you up to finish things off here? Go ahead, get back in here.
Yeah, dude, I just wanted to take that sort of first full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and that is, the tech, the patents that we were talking about in the context of Artifact. the RFID technology that has sort of economized to the level of being able to be put in everything in the supply chain, authentication. I mean, I think to your point, I want to see this as well. I want to see blockchain popping up at uh, CES and massive sort of conferences like that. And I think that's probably going to happen in the context of RWAs, RFIDs, blockchain technology, and authenticity. So hopefully we'll see that. That's why I wanted to jump back up here, because it does take it full circle to what we were talking about in the beginning. And yeah, obviously anxiously awaiting this SCOTUS decision. Should be interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Appreciate you coming back up again. Great to connect this week. I've really enjoyed you joining the conversations. Definitely have added value to the conversation and made it even better show. And appreciate y'all being here. Shout out to Poppy and Oxy, everyone else who jumped up on stage today and added the conversation. The shout out to the worm is always, even when you post distracting links. Like the last thing I popped in there, I can't remember what Joey was talking about, but Joey gets a pass because he did help the conversation on stage. It just so happened the last time I popped in there, it was something I don't even remember. Probably not worthy. I'm probably not able to repeat it on stage anyway. So I will I'll have to come. We'll save that for Monday. Anyways, 29% chance. It's hovering 29% chance. It's up off the bottom, but definitely nothing been decided as we close things down here at 10:05. Keep eyes on that. If you've got any sort of leverage trades open, don't even go to the bathroom, let alone step away from your computer for an hour or two. Would be my recommendation, especially if you have any liquidation risk. Please proceed with caution and have fun this weekend. It's going to be an interesting weekend. I think volatility is maybe the only thing I am confident of happening. I think we go up, we go down, maybe we chop. One of those threes, I am certain of that. But appreciate y'all being here this week. Thanks so much. As always, we go live Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, not only to YouTube, go hit our newsletter. We don't spam you. You get one newsletter a week. Head over to coffeewithcaptain.com, drop your newsletter. You'll get that tomorrow from Payne. We also have a community pool in there. We've also teased a community member of the month, potentially coming as early as January. I don't know. Maybe pool activity has something to do with that. Maybe not. I really don't know. I'm making it all up as I go. But Payne is the final say. So if knowing that he makes the newsletter, he may want to see you in there. If you're going to be the especially the first community member of the month, I think you got to have that sub in. You got to be dropping those GMs and hitting the newsletter. I kid, but not really. That said, that hits tomorrow, and we'll be back Monday. Excited for next week. I do have at least one special guest already queued up with us in the news this week. Likely a couple before we get out of next week. And like I said, go enjoy the markets today. If you like feeling something, if you like volatility, you're probably in for a treat. And good luck, everyone. Have fun out there. And as Steve would always say, hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.